Well, 2017 is over and it's time to wade through the muck of the worst garbage horror movies of the year. Let's do this. What's up, guys? I just put out my video for the top 10 best horror movies of the year. And now we're going to talk about the top 5 worst horror movies of the year. Because if I say top 10, then I'm going to be getting into some better movies, I guess. So the 5 movies that I'm going to talk about are stinkers. They're really bad. And before I get going, I am going to be releasing my top 5 worst, as well as Cody Leach and Brian Lomax. They're going to release their top 5 lists at the same time. So right now, they have videos up as well. So when you get done with mine, click on the card up here and check out their videos. I'll have one card for each of theirs. Now, without any further ado, let's get down to the worst of the worst. By the way, I haven't seen every horror movie out there. I usually avoid bad horror movies like the plague. I'm not one of those guys that wants to go out and see everything. If I think it's bad, I'm not gonna go see it. So anyway, here we go. Number 5 is gonna be a movie that you've probably never even heard of. It's called Intruder. This is a movie that I was just kind of bored one night and it looked interesting on Netflix. And so I thought, hey, I'll give this a shot. And I will say, in its defense, it did have some things going for it. It was a home invasion movie, but my biggest problem with this movie is that nothing happened really. It was pretty boring throughout. But the real problem with this movie was the ending. If you're gonna be boring for a good, an hour, then you better give us something great for that finale. But this one had probably one of the crappiest endings ever. It's really like nothing happens. I was not a fan of this movie at all, and the bad thing is there was potential there. Too bad. Number 4 is gonna be The Mummy. I knew this one was gonna be a stinker. I'm a big fan of the first Mummy movie with Brendan Fraser, and of course the original Mummy from the 30s. But this one just had greed all over it. You can tell that Universal Studios was trying to get their own universe going, and they made a really shitty movie. The plot was so thin. The characters, I didn't give 2 craps about. Tom Cruise I usually like, but it felt like he was just phoning this one in. And then the side character was one of the worst side characters I've ever seen, trying to constantly plug in this comic relief that was not funny at all, just complete flat comedy. Ugh, crap. And this movie was the death knell of the dark universe. I'd be shocked if they even tried to put out another movie in that universe. And I'll even say Dracula Untold would have been a good starting point for that. Even though I didn't think that movie was great, it was 10 times better than this movie. Number 3 is Rings. You know what? This movie I thought was just a waste of time. The first Ring movie was as good as the original Japanese movie. It was excellent, actually, and it really kind of gave the horror genre a kick in the nuts that it needed. So this new Rings movie, it's been a while since we had the stinker that was Rings 2, or The Ring 2. But this one didn't really bring much to the table. I'm sitting here trying to remember what this movie was. That's how forgettable it was. I haven't seen this since it came out in theaters, but one thing I do remember is that I did not like it at all. And it's a shame too, because it did have some nice cinematography, but if that's all you got, then who cares? Now, I had a tough time figuring out my number 1 and my number 2, because they're both really, really bad, like bottom of the barrel. So I'm just gonna say number 2 is gonna be Flatliners, the remake. This was a perfect example of what you should not do in a remake. As a matter of fact, I just watched the original Flatliners last night for the first time in a long time, and it is really a good horror movie. It offers a lot of interesting ideas. The premise, I think, is excellent, and it lends itself to a franchise. You could actually go in all kinds of different directions with this, but the remake does nothing. And the sad thing is it's not a remake really; it's a sequel. And Kiefer Sutherland was in that movie, but they didn't take advantage of him as the character. You don't even know that he's the guy from the first movie. What the hell were they thinking? But this movie is just completely soulless. All those afterlife sequences in the original are great, thought-provoking. This, not at all. And a lot of times it felt like just, CGI. Didn't care about any of the characters. They were complete rip-offs of the original. Just a complete waste of time. And then the last one, I'm a big fan of this series for the fun of it, but the last Resident Evil movie, and this is supposed to be the last one, was just a complete letdown. Wow, horrible. I guess my biggest problem with this one is the action scenes. So much shaky cam. You can tell that there was no preparation, no fight choreography put into this movie whatsoever. Every time I watch it, I'm pissed off by the end of it and I have a headache. And it's interesting too because they've done, 4 or 5 of these movies beforehand, and there was some good fight choreography in those. So why not in this one? I don't know. It was just lazy, I thought. And to be the last movie, the story was just all over the place, and at the end, I didn't even care. I thought they could have came up with a better ending than what they did come up with. But one thing's for sure, I definitely don't want another Resident Evil movie, at least not with this cast. I'm done with this series. So anyway, guys, that's it. That is my top 5 worst of the year. Post down in the comments what your least favorite horror movies of the year were. I did not see Bye Bye Man. So don't yell at me for not putting that on the list. I knew that was gonna be horrible. You should have known. Also, again, be sure to check out Cody's and Brian's list. Come over to Killer Flicks where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free For All Fridays. If you like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and now Stardust. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.